What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Hard Facts, back like Craig Mack, kicking that brand new flavor in your ear. As always, I appreciate y'all tuning in. I got some more good content for y'all to look at, so let's go ahead and get into it.
I don't think women really understand the amount of work and trial and toil and failure and pursuit that a man does before he even shows up to you. So a lot of women think, oh, now you're here, you're going to do my bidding. No, he's already built himself. If you're dealing with a man, now if you're dealing with, a fun boy, you get what you get. So I think that's the first thing. We really don't understand men. We don't understand how hard they work. And the reason why men lead is because they're the ones that are willing to make the sacrifice. If we're really honest with ourselves, we're not. Men are willing to work and give most of it to the family. Most women, we want the big jobs, but we want it for us. It just is what it is. It's not better or worse. Women need to understand that a man is willing to sacrifice, so that means you also need to be working just as hard. And what are you willing to sacrifice? And it needs to complement each other. I think a lot of women think they're just going to show up and be selected. We have to, like my man says, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. But it is a real job every day. And for me, it's an honor, but I think a lot of women don't realize how hard it is. It's worth it, but it's work. I don't think women really
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. I like that. I'm a fighter. I box, so even when I don't have fights lined up, I'm always training. So I definitely know how that's applicable to mental thinking and phrases that you can use to get through life that are good phrases or good sayings. Stay ready so you don't stay ready so you can be ready. But the main thing to take away from what she said or what was said there in that interview is women do the work that they do for themselves. So let's pay attention to that, right? And then again, there's nothing wrong with that, because as y'all have heard on dating platforms, we all grown. So you taking care of yourself is something that any adult is supposed to do. You ain't gonna get no hand claps and applause for that. We all grown. So there's nothing wrong with women taking care of themselves. The point being is that women do it for themselves. They don't do it for the starting of a family. And that is with a man, where children will come from the sex in that relationship, the intimacy between a man and a woman. Now, women will do it for family that she didn't create. She will work to support sick parents, or she will help other people in the family, so on and so forth. When it comes to a family that she creates, she doesn't work with the sole intent to support that family, unless she ends up in that situation by way of a single mom, just by way of how women become single moms. However, the shit hits the fan and she becomes a single mom. But men out the gate, once a man hits the ground running to make money, he does it with the intention to support whatever the fuck he gets himself into. That's what men do it for. When a man goes to build himself up, he does it with the intention of others that will depend on him that he creates. Now, men could care less, more so than women, about supporting family that he didn't create, whether that's brothers, sisters, people, sick parents, all of that. Although most children, regardless of gender, will support sick parents. But able-bodied parents, men give a shit more or less about that than what a woman will do in that situation. Men give a fuck about his energy and effort going to be pretty much for the family that he hopefully looks to create. That's what this woman is saying. And where you have men and not fun boys, there's a difference there. Where you have men, she's talking about men. And here's the difference. This is what a fun boy is. Here's the difference between a man and a fun boy. A fun boy is, well, we all know what that is. Let me get back to what a man is. A man is one who is out here building of himself, where he creates a family and he takes care of them kids, or not. He could still be a man even though he doesn't take care of kids he created with a woman, because that situation where he doesn't take care of kids that he created with a woman, there's several circumstances as to why it ended up that way, and not necessarily because he's a worthless man, or he's a deadbeat or a bad man. One of the reasons that he's not taking care of those kids is because he could be a deadbeat. Then he wouldn't qualify as a man. But there's ways that a man who is not in his kid's life could still qualify as a man by way of who he is and what he generates and creates and gets out here in this world and contributes to, while not taking his resources and taking care of his kids or being involved in their lives. And again, there's several reasons as to why it could not be his fault that he's not involved in those kids' lives. So to get back to the point, a man is someone, whether or not he's in his kids' lives, he produces. When you see him, he produces. He moves and shakes, rubs elbows with other men, shakes hands with other men, tussles, struggles, fights, wrestles with other men, whether physically, literally, mentally, spiritually, in business and sports and boardrooms, so on and so forth. Those are men. Ladies, when you see men out here who get into whatever it is he does to generate prosperity and have things and acquire things, those are men. A lot of times y'all women will pass them up for the fun boys. Y'all will confuse fun boys with men. Y'all will group fun boys with men and men with fun boys. Y'all don't know the fucking difference because y'all not focused on understanding the difference. Y'all just go with your feelings. You meet a fun boy who has that swag, that attraction, so on and so forth, and he ends up being a deadbeat dad who can't even produce for himself. He can't even take care of himself. So that's what a man is. Everything I just said is a man. Anything outside of that is somebody who you shouldn't even be entertaining for a fun boy who can stick dick in you with the possibility of accidentally getting you pregnant.
Sis, if you can't be corrected, then you cannot be directed. And if you cannot be directed, then you can't be protected. We claim to be the least protected woman today in the United States. And one of the reasons I honestly think that is because we don't like to listen. Yeah, we don't like to hear constructive criticism. We don't want anyone telling us what to do. We want to do our own thing. I mean, aren't y'all tired of the broken homes? Aren't y'all tired of the broken relationships? Don't we want to make Black families great again? Don't we want to make marriage and unity great again? Well, one of the ways that we can do that is learning how to take correction from our significant other. I mean, honestly, how can you claim to love this person, to trust them, and yet you can't trust their judgment? You can't trust that this person has your best interest at heart. Are you going to agree with every decision? No. Are you going to understand every decision? No. But you know, at the end of the day, you can safely trust in him. You know that he will not lead you astray. Sometimes we do need to shut up. Shut the hell up, actually. Sometimes we are the problem. And we need to hear a little correction from our man because, sometimes we are the problem. And in order for us to really
But
be
y'all
directed
won't
in the
admit
right
that
direction,
shit.
we have to be willing to have those uncomfortable conversations and hear that criticism that might not make us feel good, but it's going to lead us on the right path in the long run. How can he honestly protect you if he can't even direct you? Like, you're inviting trouble your way. Let's all just put the big girl underwear on and get it together. Sis, if you can't be corrected, then you cannot be.
Here's my take on that. One, it's very true. Everything that she said speaks to reality. It's not how I feel about it. It's not anything else other than it's reality. What she said is set in stone for the way the universe works. So women, please understand that that's what men mean when we use the word reality and we use the word logic. That is synonymous with something that is set in stone by the laws of the universe, not by how we feel about the situation and everything we think about it. So yeah, if he can't direct you, he can't protect you. How does that make sense? Well, I'll make it make sense. If a person doesn't have authority over me, then they can't lead me, which is the direction, furthermore, protection. If I'm in the military, if my commanding officer gets an argument out of me for everything that he or she tells me to do, because it's a hierarchy thing, they're the commanding officer, that means that I am not giving them authority. I am not following authority. If I will not succeed authority to them, then how can they lead me? How can they protect me? How can they teach me the fundamentals of being an enlisted person? To do this, think this way, walk this way, talk this way, shoot this way, run this way, build equipment and materials this way, learn technology. How can I learn any of those things and have their leadership for them directing me to acquire this knowledge if I am giving them no authority? That makes sense, right? That just simply makes sense. If I am always giving someone who I want to lead me flack, I'm always being, giving them the opposite of what they want, being negative about it, pretty much saying, no, that don't float my boat. Don't tell me that. I don't want to hear it. I ain't going with that. Every time they got something to say, that's always my response. But yet, I want them around me, and I want me around them. That's what I want for whatever the fuck reason, while also wanting leadership, but not doing my part to be able to have that leadership. If I will not give a person authority over me, they cannot lead me. That makes sense. Ladies, if you want a man to lead you, he has to have authority over you that you have to give to him. And this is not a situation of where we're going to use prettier words to re-say that phrase or to rephrase that idea so that it sits better with you, so you won't have to live with the reality of giving someone authority. This is not about prettying shit up and putting lipstick on a pig for you to feel good about it. It's about reality. It's about how reality works and doing things that makes reality work. So for it to be simply put, in order for a man to lead you, you have to give him authority. That's something that you have to do. That's not something that he can make you do or convince you to do, so on and so forth. You have to do that. Even if the authority that you relinquish to him and the leadership that he goes with from the authority that you gave him ends up in failed situations. Some shit he do might fail, but you don't give a person leadership because they're God and they're perfect and they're going to get things right every fucking time. That's not why you get somebody leadership, because they not God. They not perfect. They're fucking human. Only thing they could do is try to get it right as much as possible, and then when they fail, try to fix whatever the situation is that they failed at, so they can get the benefits of whatever it is that y'all trying to achieve. Ladies, you have to give us the authority. Where you're not doing that and we know that you being a bitch, we don't want you. We don't like you. We don't need you. We don't want to put up with the headache of trying to wait for you to come around. You need to be without a man, and you need to grow up and get your tutelage of how to follow orders and follow authority from some fucking where else before you get in a relationship with a man and think that we gonna like you and put up with all that bullshit. And no, we not. We don't want to.
My man went on a vacation he did not tell me about. Come to find out, his ex-lover was in attendance. Question is, should I trust him?
What? Foundational question.
Yes.
You sure that's your man?
I don't like this guy.
And if that is your man, are you sure you're
simping
his
a
girl?
little bit too
Because
much.
oftentimes there are men, single men that you're in a relationship with him. That don't mean he's in a relationship with you. So before you become exclusive to a man, you better make sure that man is exclusive to you.
All I'm gonna say is he's here, so I hope he's listening.
What's your story? I want to know your side of the story.
What's the man's side of the story?
So what happened?
At that time in our relationship, we was going through some things.
That's crazy.
I'm gonna start off by saying that first week, her child's father was sick, and she went over there and took care of him.
You leaving out value.
Didn't know.
Hold on. You made that some soup?
No. Lobster tail.
You know what lobster tail mean?
Hey,
Legs get cracked open.
Oh yeah.
how you gonna try?
Out. You left that out.
Now, I'm gonna give the brother on the panel credit for, at least owning up to what I think is his bullshit and calling baby girl out and saying, "Hey, you leaving out information. You giving half truths." Problem with that brother and why he be simping too much to women is he took her side before he even asked the boyfriend to come up and give his story. Boyfriend come up and give his story. Lo and behold, it's some important fucking information in that story that everybody should know if they're going to be asked to make a decision on the fucking scenario. So she wants somebody's feedback on her boyfriend going on a trip with the ex being involved to whatever degree, so on and so forth. But beforehand, she was involved with her baby dad to the degree of what everybody in that audience, even the guy on the panel, me, myself, we gonna take lobster tail as being synonymous with, fucking. That's how I took it. I think that's how everybody else took it. And she chose to leave that information out. Furthermore, she chooses to feel some kind of way about what her boyfriend got involved with after the fact of what she did. And what her boyfriend did, from all we can see, is that he went on a trip where his ex was in attendance, and that's all the fuck that we know. We don't even know that there was any lobster tails going on a trip that he went on, right? But for certain, we know what his girlfriend was doing with her baby daddy. Like, ladies, in this situation, and y'all do this a lot, why poke the bear? Why? Because you feel some kind of way about a motherfucker doing you what you perceive as wrong, where you probably don't have all the information to say that anything nefarious went on, but the fact that you perceive the situation as wrong, you get hurt, or you hurt by it, you allow your emotions to be hurt by it. You proceed to poke the bear, and I consider poking the bear because you did something wrong. You know, that's not a fair fight or a fair situation. That's why it's poking the bear. Because if you poke a bear, that ain't gonna be no fair fucking fight. You about to wake the bear up. You starting some shit. So you haven't done some bullshit, and then a situation after that occurs that you perceive, or that you want to let your feelings be hurt by because of your perception, you want to poke the bear. Ladies, don't do that dumb shit, because that is not logical. That right there is fucking emotional. That's emotional dumb shit. Yeah, y'all do situations like that. Y'all approach situations like that far too often. Y'all motherfuckers poke the bear a lot.
A woman needs love, a man needs respect. But it's almost easy for us to say, well, he can get my respect when he earns it. Can you imagine if your husband said, she can have my love when she earns it? Just as much as women need love, your husband needs respect. Not only was he created to be able to need this, to receive it, he was built that way, he's going to be drawn to the places where he actually does receive it. Whether it's his workplace, you know, some of us are like, why is he always out of the house? Why doesn't he like to be at home? Why does he always feel so grumpy or look so grumpy when he's at home? But then for some reason, when we're out with his friends or when he's at work, he's thriving there. You see so much joy in him. It's because he's receiving respect. He's gonna find respect in the relationships where he receives it. And if that's the case, we've got to figure out a way to understand that there is a true need for a man to be able to receive respect. If a woman needs love, a man needs respect. But it's almost easy for us to say, well, he can get my respect when he earns it. Can
Y'all women's movement currently and previous to now has always been about equality. But, well, equality is about fairness. Those two words can be interchangeable. Equality, quality, fairness. But it only applies, or y'all women try to make it apply or try to force it on society, where when that equality is enforced, it benefits you. It benefits you women. But yet, y'all don't practice what y'all preach because it's not fair across the board. Point in case, what she said, y'all women think, and y'all say this, and y'all think this, and y'all live like this. He'll get my respect when he deserves it. Y'all think, but I'm gonna say y'all feel, because that's what y'all women do when y'all should be thinking. So I can't even give y'all the title of thinking. Y'all feel that is appropriate because that's how you feel. Whatever's going on with you in your relationship and in your life immediately, that's how you feel. I'm not gonna respect him or whatever the fuck is going, whatever your thoughts are, your processes. It comes out in the phrase in that moment of time. He'll get my respect when he deserves it. Because that's how you feel. Well, what about you'll get my love when you deserve it? That is the equal of your approach to respect. That is the equal in reference to love. That's the equal. You'll get my love when you deserve it. But ladies, y'all not going to let that go down and let that go that way. Y'all going to fight tooth and nail and argue every which way why I shouldn't deal with you in that manner. And y'all will feel that you are 1000% right to fight me about I should love you unconditionally, regardless of what you do, who you are, how you look, or how terrible you might look and have let yourself go, or how terrible you cook, or how shitty of a nurturer you are, or shitty of a person, so on and so forth. You will fight tooth and nail that I'm supposed to love you despite all of that. So that's not equal. That's not fair. It's not fair for y'all women to look at it that way. Again, that's not reality. And this woman also made the point of a man having this smile on his face and his joy within him when he's not in the house or around you. And the question is why, and why can't that be the situation between you and him when y'all together or when he comes in the house? Because the respect factor that he gets at work, with his friends, out in society, just who he is, who he engages with, how those interactions go, the respect that is given to him, the respect that he gives, that respect factor makes him happy. It makes him happy. And then you are making him fight for your respect because you feel some kind of way about something he did or done, or something that you want to take respect away from him for, and you're going to hold it hostage and not give it back to him until so on and so forth, all because your feelings are hurt. And the thing is, because your feelings are hurt, that's something you and him got to work on, is what hurts your feelings. It doesn't give you right to take respect away and hold it hostage, unless he really did something that everybody would look down on, like child molestation or some shit. So how that applies to love and love of a woman, whatever arguments that me and my woman go through, so on and so forth, I can't just fucking hold love hostage, because then that's not gonna help the situation get better. What the fuck I'm gonna work on something with somebody for, and how prosperous can I expect that to be if I took love off the table? It don't fucking change because I'm mad at her for something. So that applies to respect, because you mad at a motherfucker for something. If this motherfucker ain't done no child molestation or dropped his moral character to that degree, or dropped his moral character at all, then you don't hold respect off the table. That motherfucker forgot your birthday, forgot your anniversary, he's stingy, didn't get you a present, didn't spend this much money on you, so on and so forth, didn't fuck you right, whatever, didn't eat your pussy right, whatever the fuck, all this, whatever you can get angry and be having all this anger at him about for different scenarios and situations, and the situations is not getting fixed, so you still sitting in your anger. Don't take respect off the table because you mad. So if y'all want equality, which is synonymous with fairness, then fucking be fair.
People don't necessarily want love. They want what they think is love. That's why when they get love, they tend to walk away from it because they don't have the capacity for the well that love brings in. So you want what you think is love. That's why they say what you said wasn't loving. Well, whose standard? Because God's love rebukes. God loves corrects. God love doesn't feel good at first because it changes you. Most people want to remain the same. So you want lust. You want what you think is love. But most people don't want love. When you get with somebody, the goal is to become the better version of who you are. Like, you should never want to be with somebody that's content with who you are today. Like, we're always achieving to be a better version of ourselves. Most of the time, you can't even define that with your own eyes, because it's like you looking at a wall with no mirror. You can't see yourself. It's normally the person that comes in that can see you and say, hey, you know this is wrong with you. And you're like, no, I didn't notice that. I thought I was fine. They're like, yeah, no, you got to change that up. That's love, to say, I demand a better you. But if somebody is not prepared for that demand, then they start thinking it's criticism, or I'm offended that you said that, or I don't like that you did that. Well, no, you just wanted a puppet, but you didn't want somebody that brought in real love, which is chastening, which is rebuking, which is loving, which is accepting, which is also challenging. I should never accept you for being a jerk. You should strive to be better than that. People don't necessarily want love. They want what they think is love. That's why when they...
I don't want to identify or attribute a person making demands of me with the idea of love. I don't like that for this reason. While I may agree with most of what she said, to the idea of a person who you are with should want to see you evolve for the better, I don't want that person to make it their job to spearhead that, to point it out and make statements of it and make tasks of it. And I don't want them to make it a task of pointing out to me all the time of how I can evolve, where my shortcomings are, so on and so forth. Don't make that a task, is what I'm saying. Don't make that your fucking job, because that could look other than love. It could look negative. It could look hateful. It could be tiresome. It could be tedious. It could be nagging. But on the same token, if that person wants better for you, can see that in you, would like to see you moving mentally, spiritually to evolve for better, and they support that, of course, that's what could be a good thing coming from a significant other. That would be a good thing coming from me to a significant other. But yeah, I don't want a person to make that a task, and it turns into demands, and them making demands of me to be these things, and so on and so forth. And then again, I disagree with her putting that or coupling that with the definition of love, or one of the characteristics of love. Because if a person, again, as I've already explained, if your significant other approaches that the wrong way, they could become a demanding, just fucking nagging asshole whom, you know, you look at like, yo, shut the fuck up. Quit telling me to do this that you think is better and do that you think is better, and you're not really telling me. It's like you're demanding. So quit demanding me to fucking work out and do this, that, and the third. And yeah, I definitely don't agree that is what this woman's explanation should look like.
Spent so much time pointing at my husband, pointing out the things that I wish he would change, nagging at him for the things that he wasn't. I spent so many years doing that I could have actually spent working on myself. If I would have been truthful and realized that I was the common denominator of my failed relationships. It's me, Judge. Yeah, me. I'm the problem. Girl, you gonna get in this marriage and the enemy will try to deceive you like that man is the problem. It's you. To be honest with y'all, I don't think that I became a good wife until I got to the lowest moment of like looking at myself and saying, you're not a good wife. It wasn't until then that I got up and I was like, okay, now that I've faced myself, I can see what I'm working with and I can grow. But as I was continuing to ignore and act delusional like he was the only one with issues, I kept falling in this tunnel. And so a lot of us are running from ourselves and so ready to blame our husbands and he don't do this. Baby, when you go to heaven, God ain't gonna ask you what that man did. He's gonna talk to you about you. If I focus on myself, I go on my individual healing journey, I will see why I am the way that I am and how I can get better. But not to arrive in this marriage like, here's the prize, I'm here, here's your lovely wife. No, girl, you are angry, codependent, you don't know how to serve, you don't know how to just shut up. Let's get real. You're the problem.
Her idea of how people could reflect on themselves and look in the mirror for what their issues are and how they are a problem, that applies to all humans. But we all can see where she is specifically speaking to women, about women, because it is more heavily used by women and thought of by women where the man is the problem. And most of what she does in the relationship isn't wrong or isn't a problem. If not everything, she probably thinks everything that she does isn't a problem or isn't an issue. And or she probably knows that there are things that she did that was fucked up, but she's not going to allow to the relationship to acknowledge that that was a problem, because she's not going to apologize. She's not going to acknowledge it. She's not going to accept that what she did was wrong, fucked up, so on and so forth. So it could be both, where she doesn't think that what the things that she does is a problem, and then where she was definitely wrong, she's just not going to acknowledge it or apologize for it. Women do that far too often, or much more so than men, and that's why her message is going to the women. But that is a trait of all humans. We all need to reflect within ourselves. And ladies, you would want that to be the kind of man that you have. You would want him to reflect within himself to see where he falls short. But ladies, y'all got to do that too. Y'all have to. You must do that too. I mean, I could go on about that topic, you know, how prideful a person could be, especially women in that situation, blase, blah. But I'm just going to end that by saying, look, y'all must do the same thing that you would find, or that you would look as quality in a man, where a man has that quality about him where he can look in the mirror and move forward from that point to better days. Y'all need to do that shit too.
No matter how healthy your man is, you have to nurture your submissiveness. You have to nurture the ability to follow. You have to nurture the ability to be quiet, even if your ideas or direction or something feels better. In order for your man to even have the ability to grow, sometimes you gotta fall back. And that fallback game, it has to be nurtured. And so I always speak to the women that say, all I need is a man to come in here and to lead and to show me that he's a good leader, and then I'll become this feminine submissive self. And it's not always true.
As said earlier in the other video that was a video of the statement she just made, it doesn't work that way. You can't not give authority to a person you want to lead you but then yet think that the way that it's going to go is for them to come in, throw all of this leadership around, get things done, and then all of a sudden you're going to submit to their leadership. It's not going to work that way, because them coming in throwing all of this leadership around may take work from you in order to get any prosperity out of that situation. In order for there to be any fruits of the labor, any benefits at the end of that, it may take work from you. If you confuse leadership with this person comes in and leads and things get done because you sat back and just was pretty and there was all this work done that you probably don't acknowledge, probably didn't pay attention to, and or if you didn't give a shit. All that mattered was that there was all this work done, but you didn't do any heavy lifting. And at the end of that leadership and all the work done with some benefits, if you think that's how that fucking goes, then you're not a mature thinker. So that's why you have to relinquish the authority to someone who you want to lead, because the leadership may not sound good, it may not feel good, it may not come across the way you like, it may not be said in palatable words, but in all of that, in that leadership and what doesn't feel good about it, there are things that are being asked of you and required from you in order for there to be some fruits of labor at the end of that leadership. You women don't want the leadership because you don't want the work from the leadership that you're responsible for. You don't want the work that you're responsible for from the leadership because it doesn't feel good. When y'all lose sight of the big picture, while you getting your hands dirty and it don't feel good, before you even get your hands dirty, you won't do the work because you're losing sight of the big picture. The big picture being that if you just listen and do the hard work and get your hands dirty, then there's going to be some fruits of labor at the end of that leadership. But it's not no such thing as somebody just gonna come in and just lead you to pots of fucking gold and then you relinquish submission to them. That's not reality. That doesn't fucking make sense. So that's why it's not ever gonna go that way.
There are women that are with great men and literally just don't know how to be quiet. Like they literally don't know how to fall back. And this is not a shot. It's like you don't know how because you've never done it, especially if you are 30, 40 years old and you've just been getting it out the mud and working and assertive and deciding. And you cannot think that that's just going to turn off. That's something that has to be trained. No matter how healthy your man is, you have to nurture your submissiveness.
Hey, salute to her. She gets it. I think I remember her saying something about her being in a relationship, so that's why she's in one. That's why she's not single. And I'm quite sure that her relationship is prosperous and the man that she's with is happy with the woman that he is with.
So I see women say a lot that men are intimidated by them. Maybe they make a lot of money or they have strong personality or they're very educated or successful. Men are not intimidated by that. They're not attracted to the traits that sometimes come with that, but they're not just straight, simply intimidated because you're successful. I have never believed that myself. So a woman who has it all together, you know, she shows a man that. She shows up with her chest out. She shows up, you know, I got this, I got that. I do this, I do that. I make this, I make that. I drive this, I drive that. She got it all figured out. Men are looking to come into a woman's life and benefit it, pour into it, you know, assist us, help us. Men like to solve problems, right? So if they get with the woman who has it all together, they got to perform mental gymnastics to try to fit in there. And nobody has time for that. So then they go to somebody else. Then the woman assumes two things. He left them because he's intimidated They don't realize that he's just not attracted. And then second of all, they assume the woman he went to is weaker. No, she's not weaker. She either doesn't have it all together, or she does have it all together, but she's smart enough to realize that she still has to create a space for that man. So men are not intimidated by a successful woman. I just don't believe men are intimidated by women at all. Let me know what y'all think. So I see women say a lot that men are...
This is what I think. Men naturally are not in competition with a woman. We're in competition with other men, or we're in competition with hard circumstances that we need to overcome, defeat, win against. Where we aren't in natural competition with women, when a woman comes across a man and she's talking about, I got this, I got that, blah, 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 this should be some value to you, this should mean something to you, this is what I bring to the table, and it's all men accomplishments, money, security, education, status at work, so on and so forth. Here's where men aren't intimidated by women, because we aren't naturally in competition with them. But here's where a woman of that nature that could come across and essentially sit in a energy of competition. Here's how. Imagine a man comes across another man, and this man is, I got this, I got that, I got a Ferrari, or let's put it in sports. I could run fast, I could jump high, I can do this, I can do that. And that's how he speaks to other men, thinking that should be of some value, or other men should look at that as why they should value him. And at the end of the day, one way that they could look at it, and anybody looking on that situation could look at it, is, this dude put himself up on a pedestal. Like, that's your conversation for us when you come around us. And that's how you want to sell yourself to have value. That's your conversation. What men are going to do and how we're going to react to that is, okay, nigga, you could jump high, I could jump higher. You could run fast, I can run faster. I'm not trying to hear that shit. All I need from you to show me your value is when we in the trenches together, that you get it. Get it, motherfucker, when we in the trenches. But don't come around with that energy all the time and trying to sell us your value. And you could be doing all of that shit, but don't come around letting that be the conversation and letting that be what you have to add to the table. And that's it, and that's all. Because when we not in the trenches, it doesn't have any value. And it's irritating. And I'm going to beat you because you're being irritating. You can run fast, you can jump high, you can do this, you can do that. That shit is only valuable when we're in the trenches. And if you keep talking about that shit when we not in the trenches, I'm gonna put you in your fucking place. That's what that kind of woman, that's what she comes across as to a man. And it's not intimidating, it's irritating. It's a fucking turnoff, because we aren't supposed to be naturally competing against women. But yet, ladies, in your fight for equality, here you are competing against men. Everything you do, you hold it up to the candle of a man. You don't realize you're doing it, and then in other situations you won't acknowledge the fact that you're doing it, because you would rather be stubborn and continue on your pursuit of things that will put you at odds against men, that will put you as an irritation to a man. I don't care about your accolades, because again, as I spoke earlier in this video, y'all women keep y'all accolades to yourself. And that's not trench work. That's not teamwork in the trenches. You got all these accolades. That shit don't mean nothing to me unless that shit is put forth in the trenches. If you got all these accolades, woman, and you not taking care of me and spending money on me like I would, if like I should, if I'm the man and I have means and I'm going to spend money on you and surprise you with gifts and this, that, and that. If you ain't doing that shit for me, with your prosperity, then you ain't in the trenches with me. You doing all of that shit to keep it to yourself so that you have security of well-being just in case this relationship goes south. That's all that shit is for. Now y'all women need to figure that out. Y'all the ones who wanted this shit for security, the equality, so that you have security in case you're separated or divorced. Y'all the ones who came up with that shit. But y'all the ones who need to figure out how the fuck to come back to reality and understand that you need to use that shit for the trenches if you want a man to respect that. Because he's not going to sit around and have you not use it for the trenches, but yet you want somebody to admire that and value that and listen to you keep talking about it and flaunting it and pushing it in people's face. And now it's a competition because a motherfucker's irritated. So motherfucker ain't intimidated at all because men are natural competitors. We compete against other men. So if you want to compete, that's what your irritation is pushing the shit towards. Fucking competition.
Stop thinking that you're the standard for being a wife. Stop thinking that you're the prototype and maybe your marriage will do better. Because you think that you're the best wife ever and that any man will be lucky to have you, you don't know what your husband wants.
I realize that words can cut. I realize I have a slick mouth. I realize that I, even if I'm not trying to be aggressive, even just the way I talk with my hands, it can come off aggressively. It can totally change my message. And one thing, and I've been in therapy for some years now, one thing that I still have to consciously work on and check in and talk to my therapist about is how I communicate with my husband.
Stop thinking that you're the standard for being a wife.
Ladies, if y'all always communicating with your hands and gestures and very overbearing communication by way of the tone of your voice, the decibels, the dialect, so on and so forth, to dial that back, and so it's not taken the wrong way, and so you actually don't become an overbearing, abrasive bitch, so on and so forth. To dial that back, you just got to work on appropriate social interactions, whether it's with a man or a woman, whether you are angry or not. Sometimes you just have to communicate socially in a reserved manner where you are engaged with the conversation. You are engaged with the emotions of it, the thoughts of it, but you're being diplomatic, whether it's in the boardroom or whether it's with your husband or the kids and the family. You don't have to have all the hand gestures. You can sit back, you can take in the information, you can think about it. And y'all women, y'all feel a lot. So don't just speak off your feelings and blurt things out off of your feelings, and don't always feel what was said. Think about what was said. You could have a feeling, but don't let it boil out of you. Just be fucking cuz. Have that feeling, assess it, understand it, but then have a thought about what was said that brought that feeling on, and what will be said after the fact from that feeling. Sit there in calm reservation and just speak. And where women are concerned, speak and be feminine. Where men are concerned, speak and be masculine. That is what we should see in social interactions. Men are meant to speak and be masculine. When you see a man being masculine and giving directions and controlling the direction of a room, that is a man's place. That is a masculine trait. Where a woman ends up doing that in a room, it'll be out of femininity that ended up happening, because of who she is, the respect that people have for her, and all of that's going to come from the relationships, what work she has put in for people to respect her, what people have seen her do, what people have seen her sacrifice and put up with, so on and so forth. As to where when she is in a room and the room hears her and direction was ended up being given by her from her and everyone listened, it happened from a place of femininity, just from her speaking and engaging in her feminine essence. And then again, men being in that same room or separate rooms, speaking and engaging in his masculine essence, and letting whatever results from that come from that. So, to speak to what this woman said, in my opinion, that is how you women get rid of that. That's how you be feminine and get rid of the masculine traits. It's a matter of practice, and it is a matter of thinking. It's y'all get into, in my opinion, y'all get into the masculine mannerisms, so on and so forth, because y'all let the feelings of the situation determine how you move. You have to be heard, so on and so forth, and you're going to overtalk whoever the fuck you need to be heard. You're going to overtalk a man, you're going to overtalk everybody, and the man, when he's in his masculine essence, the reason that he is heard and the masculinity is felt, it's not because he had to overtalk people. It's because of the presentation that he is given within that moment and the masculinity behind it, and then it ends up being that he was heard. Point was taken. Even if it's not the circumstance that everybody goes with.
When a man wants to get married, he's only getting married truly for one reason. The men can work and provide for themselves. He does not necessarily need you to cook, clean, and have sex, because he can get sex from multiple women. A lot of them can cook and clean. Their mother taught them, or they can pay someone to get it. The culture is telling them these women do not get married. So why would a man go past what the culture is telling him and choose to have a wife? It's for one real simple reason. Because with a wife, you can now have love, you can now have nurturing, you can have support, you can have affection. This is what he can't get from a roommate. So if that is not what you're leading with, your relationships with men is love, support, nurturing, and respect, this is why your husband is now pulling away, because in the beginning you gave him those things. But as you got into the relationship, you got bitter, you got resentful, you start seeing his flaws, start counting that against him, you start measuring him against other men, and now you're pulling back on the love, the affection, and the nurturing. When a man wants to get married, he's only getting married truly for one.
I agree with her perspective. The love, the nurturing, the other qualities that she spoke of. Yes, a man does want those things from a woman, from his wife. Can any man find that outside of a intimate heterosexual relationship? Yeah, but not so much so as he would get it from that intimate heterosexual relationship. So he can find it. It's just not nearly as likely, or as with as much success numbers wise as he would find it in a relationship. So you could say men don't need women, but we do need women for that. For a woman who I build a connection with, that those qualities are going to be very valuable, because they will be at their most genuine and they will be at their essence. And out to her point, outside of those, where a man doesn't need a woman. He can do every fucking thing on its own, even things that a woman can't do on her own. So that's what makes us the stronger gender. That just is what it is. That's how God designed us, and he designed us in a way where men can do every fucking thing on their own that women can't do. There's just some things that women can't do without the help of a man. We're not going to get into the debate of how many numbers of things that is, and what those things are, so on and so forth. That'd just be going down a fucking rabbit hole. Point being is, all of us know something. So men don't need women to every degree, but we do need women to the degrees that she spoke on. And that goes back to, I feel as though it goes back to me speaking earlier about how men do everything they do with the idea of the family that he will create. So everything that a man can do that he is capable of, where women can't do all of those things, women will fall short of being able to do everything on her own that the male gender can do on his own. All of those things that man can do on his own to build his prosperity, so on and so forth, is so that he can provide for the family that he will create. And that's why, to this woman's point, other than the attributes she spoke on, a man doesn't need a woman, because he'll do everything on his own. So then when he is building things and acquiring things, he's not doing it for himself. He's doing it for her, and whomever else he can help, and whomever else can benefit from it, whom he has that connection with. But as always, I appreciate y'all tuning in. If you like the video, well, not if you like the video, if you watch the video, please give it a thumbs up. Furthermore, subscribe to the channel. It's not going to cost you nothing to hit that subscribe button, but it'll mean a lot to me. Until next time, y'all be easy.